So wherever you are, please, wherever you are, I hope you're not driving. I hope you're aware of your surroundings. In the era of virtual meetings and virtual events, it can be easy to let go of some safety principles. For today, we're primarily focused on three things. We're going to be primarily focused on three things. We're going to be focused on discussing you as someone that intends to apply, the applicant, the school you're looking at, or should be schools, I guess, because you most likely apply to more than one school, and then your application, the application process. Our goal will be to discuss a couple of questions in each of these, and I see a hand already raised. We kind of haven't said anything. If you have any questions, in order for us to manage this properly, if you have any questions, please drop it on the chat. In the course of the of our discussions, if any question comes up, I'm also going to read it out to the panelists. I'm currently doing a PhD, so and I never did my master's in the US, so I believe that I most likely do not have the experience or the know-how of how to go about the master's application. So I'm just going to be reading questions, and these smart folks here are going to be answering the questions. I like to issue this disclaimer that what we are sharing here are best practices and not rules of thumb, right? They may have worked for us. Situations are different. You would always know when you get deep into the grad school application process that you're going to be dealing with different schools, different professors in different schools, and it's all not always going to be the same. So we'll be making recommendations based on our experiences. So the first thing we want to talk about is you, the applicant. And kind of wanted to start this by having each of us take, say, 3 to 5 minutes to share our own personal story and our journey. Richie, do you want to start?
Okay. Yeah, I was actually going to volunteer to start, but thank you. Personally, for me, I had been pursuing this journey for quite a long time. Right after I graduated from the university, I started looking at my options and all, but I didn't get to start properly until 2019. I was two years into my job and I wanted to leave, so I started looking at the options. But you as a person, I understand that when I started looking at other people's stories, I realized that it's all about positioning yourself for where you want to be. You have to be a particular person. You have to have a particular profile. In fact, you just have to package yourself in a way that, you know, when people get to bid your CV or whatever documents you tender in front of them, they'll be able to see the strength of your personality or your profile from it. So you have to package and position yourself very well. So I used like 2 years to prepare all my documents, write my exams. I wrote GMAT, I wrote GRE, I wrote TOEFL, because I wasn't even sure what I wanted to do at that point. I was going to go into, you know, data analysis and finance, but I wrote GMAT for that eventually. So everything just, it's a very intentional process. You have to be intentional about every single thing. So it took me 2 years to be able to apply at the end of the day. So I started preparing since 2018, wrote the exams that I needed to write in 2019, and put in my application, but you know, with COVID, that it couldn't really work that way. But I got the admission and I got the funding, but I started schooling in Nigeria and came to the US right after COVID. So for me, it's a journey of intentionality. That's just the basic way I'll put it.
2 years, okay. Well, that's a lot of dedication. Thanks for sharing, Richie. Prosper, how about you? How's your journey been? How did you start your bachelor's, and how did you get here?
Okay, I graduated in 2018, and after graduation, the first person that kept pushing me was my lecturer, Mr. Semen. He kept on telling me, Prosper, when are you going to start your application? I don't even want you to go for NYSC. I just want you to leave this country immediately. And I was trying to calm him down that I'm not even ready. I mean, I need to prepare for my exams first, the GRE and IELTS. It was like, start preparing it, like give you like 1 month to prepare. I'm like, sir, I'm not really ready. But he kept pushing, and but I still did it my own way. I still had to go for my NYSC. started every process by NYSC. So I had a friend of mine that I started the application with the whole preparation, but I think she said she wasn't ready. That she felt the GRE was going to be too difficult. That she wasn't ready. So at a point, I met Karen, and Karen said, "Oh, she had similar goals, similar intentions." I was like, "Okay," and we did the whole process together. I remember when she would be going for her CDS, and I'll be going for my CDS, and we'll be preparing inside the bus, trying to come up with different words. How many words did you learn in the previous line? Actually, the whole process, the preparation together. And it was okay for me because I had a partner that had the same goal with me. And I had people that were pushing me. Also, my auntie was also trying to push me. My auntie was always calling me, "What's up? When are you going to come to the US? You need to leave Nigeria very soon." I was like, "Okay, you guys should just calm down with me. I need to do the stuff step by step." But we thank God it went well, though it was a difficult process. I mean, there were obstacles during the process, but it finally paid off. Yeah, so that was it for me.
Nice. 2018, I have to admit that finishing school as a bachelor, I actually did not know. That's why I really I wanted to have the master's session. I really did not know that it was possible to get a straight master's scholarship. So sharing your experience that will build a lot of persons that are probably like me at the moment. Karen, how about you?
Hi everyone. I think my own story is quite funny because I think I stumbled on the whole thing, right? So I was lucky, I guess. So timing was in my favor. I didn't really know that you could go to school and the school would pay for all your school fees, pay your tuition, and even pay you money, right? I wasn't exposed to US schools when I was in the university. Most of my lecturers went to schools in the UK and IFP. No offense, Lutana. So I was looking at going to that school, IPS rather. I was looking at going to IPS or this really good school in Abuja for my master's in petroleum engineering. Or then after a while, I met some of my lecturers that told me that you can go to school in the UK, and I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll look at the UK. But then I got a good job, immediately after graduating, I got a good job. I was doing my NYC with them, and they were going to pay me good money after they retained me. They had given me the offer to retain me and all of that. But then I met a couple of friends that went to Unilag, and they told me that we were close friends and they were traveling out of the country. How? They said they were going to school in the US, and I'm like, how can you afford it? And they are like, that they paid for everything. In short, my friend then was going to school in Canada, and they even paid for his flight to travel. So they paid for everything. I was like, does this really happen? I mean, it was like shocking news to me. So I decided to write the GRE, and I asked, what's the application like? And then my friend told me he wrote the GRE, applied, and all that. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm going to give it my all. So I feel maybe the day I have one of the sessions where I'm the one organizing, I'll actually share everything. I had like a spreadsheet. I was really technical about everything. I had a spreadsheet, all the schools I wanted to go, their deadlines. Prosper and I actually took like 2 weeks to do like thorough research on possible schools, write their GRE, write them down. So based on so I didn't study, I studied for my GRE in a month, right? And I was working, mind you. So things were hard for me. I was always practicing my English words on the bus, I was always, every time I had a toilet break, I'll carry my galvanized up. Every weekend we'll do mock. This Prosper is a beast. Prosper will wake me up 4 a.m. in the morning. We'll start writing mock till 9. After writing the mock, I will pass out till like maybe 12 or 1 before I resume. That was what we kept doing. Every public holiday, every weekend, we kept writing mock exams. So in total, I wrote like 8 mocks. So I think it really helped me because I didn't study for GRE. People who normally study for like 3 months and all of that. And me, I'm not even that smart, right? So the mocks really helped brush my GRE up. So based on our mock results, we already knew possible schools we're going to apply to because we had an estimate of what our GRE results would be like. We looked for top tier schools. So, that was how, so back to my story. So on the 1st of September, I carried the GR book that I was going to start studying. And 2 weeks into that, Prosper and I were friends already, but he posted on his status that one of his friends had a very GR score. And I was like, guy, how far? Link me up with this guy now. And Prosper was like, what of me? I said, did you get high score? I only talk to people that got high scores. So he's like, he's the one that mentored the guy. And so we became friends and buddies and all of that. And in this journey, it's very good to have a buddy. Even when you get here, I have a buddy that, we do everything together, because it's like having a checkmate, basically. So we prepared for the exams together. We wrote the same day, all of that. Then I did my IELTS, he had done his, and then we applied to schools. One thing I did not want to constrain me was that I did not want to hear I did not get admission because I did not apply to enough schools. So I applied to as much schools as possible. Some people are lucky, right? They get either Education USA or iScholarship initiatives that pays for everything. Like the Richie, I was working in an oil and gas firm, so I had to save for everything. I paid for everything myself. My GRE, my IELTS, my admission fees, and I applied to 6 schools, sending my results here, my flight tickets, everything I paid myself. So I had to save every penny I had, basically. But I wanted to come here for schooling, right? And the reason is not because I just want to school in the US or I want to live the American dream, or my perspective has changed on getting here, but it was just the fact that I could get free education, because I felt like if I waited more years, I might lose that opportunity, given the trend of the oil and gas industry, first off. Also given that I'm a woman, right? So after a while, after then, people were already saying you need to get married, you need to do this. When is it coming? Who is he? All those kind of things. So I knew I needed to get it done as early as possible. So that was why I jumped on the opportunity. And to cut the long story short, right? Because it could get longer. Here we are, right? So it's been a beautiful experience, I've been having fun, and I got here, I added a graduate to my petroleum engineering degree. So I'm currently doing data science, and it's been fun all the way. That was a long story.
It was a beautiful story. Hi, Akin. Over to you.
Hi, thank you, everyone. And I greet everybody from Nigeria and those in the United States here. The story is very much simple, unlike others. And I want to start it from this perspective that there's always this impression that those in the humanities or those in arts do not have funding or they don't have scholarship. And I think you agree with me. I think who is the sister from mass communication or so, for communication? I think somebody is also here from humanities. Oh, that's cool. So she's also of the humanity. So when I was planning to go for my NYSC, I had a lecturer who was almost like an uncle to me. So he called me on that day. I don't know, he might not even remember again. So he said, Ibrahim, he addresses me as Ibrahim. He said, maybe you people should not make the same mistake that we make. Many opportunities are banned in Europe and in the West. So just tap on one of them. So I was thinking, what is this? It didn't make much sense to me, until I went to Zamfara. And then even at that place, in spite of the fact that I've been to say, to be a lecturer, you must add to your first degree and the like. So, but it didn't occur to me that these international from somebody from humanity, because the belief is always that only STEM programs are often funded. And that is why I appreciate those with this initiative. At least it's going to serve as an eye opener to people that it is not just, these opportunities are not just things that are exclusive to those in the STEM sciences. Okay, I don't want to lengthen my stories, just like the other people are saying. So I went for the NYSC, and then there, I was thinking about which university, but I was tired of University of Ibadan, because I usually saw graduate students, they went through the same experience as those in undergraduate programs. This idea of, hustling to pay for your tuition and some other things. This is not to deride people. I know what people are going through. I made up my mind that I would not go to University of Ibadan again for my postgraduate program. And it was very funny when they were taking the entrance exam, and most people did not see me. One of my friends must be among the audience here. He was calling me on that day that Ibrahim, you didn't show up. I thought you should be at at the all right away. Don't worry. I Ibadan. So when I was through with the program, I had an interaction with another friend who has graduated recently from Bowling Green. And the guy said, in fact, it was just an informal interaction, so to say. He was just asking me every now and then. He barely knows Lagos. So he will ask me, where is Dragnet? So something, I don't know. I didn't even know what he was up to. You understand? When somebody is asking you about Dragnet, and somebody is asking you about water Carrington, you already, you really cannot tell what that person is up to. But then later, the guy will now chat me up with an international number, starting with +1, the usual stuff now. Guy, where are you now? He said, he's already a master's student at Bowling Green. How did you go about it? He said scholarship. I said scholarship. We finished from the same school, from the same department. Is it that easy? He said it's easy. So you can also put in. He sent me the link. Bros, how am I going to go about it? I don't even have money for tuition. I cannot pay the thousands of dollars. And my survivor in America, my flight and everything, the guy said, well, you are not going to do everything at a time. Just package your application, write your SOP, take the GRE, and then prepare yourself. Then go for your passport and all of those. So I did. Interestingly, I only chose one school, Bowling Green State University. And then I was admitted and I was offered funding immediately. And let me tell you something, which is very important. I'm sure the moderator is going to, touch on all of this. You are starting as if everything depends on it. Don't start and think that maybe later you have the opportunity of seeking funding, separately. It is not always like that. Throw in your best shots. I think the story is as simple as that. Yeah, from service. Then but for the coronavirus, maybe we could have been in the second year proper now. So thank you all. So when other question come up, brother, I would attend to them.
The guys, I wish I attended this when I was an undergrad. You guys seriously shared already. I'm already like, man, I wasted months, 5 years in Nigeria just moving around. Like, if I had this information, I probably would have left a lot earlier. Now, you guys have talked about several things, about the things you did for this application, for this process. We have a couple of questions coming in on the chat. I know most of them so far have been about the exams and the timeline. Please keep posting your questions. Each of those we're going to address them in a particular session. We want to keep this conversation guided. So the first thing we want to ask is, how did you guys start out? Like, let's say, what do you think you did? What do you think, in your opinion, that a professor saw in the profile that probably made them say like, oh, this is someone I want to sponsor, even if it's just for a master's, 2-year master's, I want to sponsor this person, I want to fund this person's studies. What do you think made you stand out? Was it your grades? Was it like a first class, a second class, a 2-1? Was it some research experience? Was it publications? Was it work experience? Was it volunteering as well? What do you think was the one thing in your profile that you believe really made you an outstanding applicant? I think I can start with Akin on this one.
Oh, okay, thank you. In fact, it's one of those things I like to attend to when we have engagement like this, where you already know, and I'm sure some of my colleagues here, they know what I'm talking about. That's the evaluation of applicants' application here is holistic. So they try to put everything in the requirement into consideration. However, like you have said, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Even some of you must have put in the same, you must have put forth the same performances in your application. Some tend to be more impressionistic, so to say, than the others. If I were to say, I would rather say, I think the statement of purpose could have done the magic for me. And when I say statement of purpose, usually people hammer on the GRE, the grades, But like I saw, and I will use the opportunity to share with us before I even continue. I saw on, I think when I was scavenging the web pages for some institution for PhD and the like, I saw on Indiana, University of Indiana, and they wrote something about GRE. They say, if you have low GRE score, or you have not so impressive undergraduate grade, all of these could be upturned by impressive statement of purpose and references. And those are the areas we don't really give prominence. Most people, once they come up with their first class, they go to sleep. And some people, once they haze the GRE, maybe 300, they just relax, it is over. But there are some other things these people put into consideration. In fact, sometimes some of them will say, why are they, if the GRE and the like are so important, why are they waiving GRE at the point in time? I'm not saying they are not important. And also, if we think our whatever grade we've made is so very important, why do you think somebody who only has a first degree with 2 or sometimes will be admitted and somebody into PhD program, and somebody even with master's and PhD grade might not even make it? So as far as I'm concerned, I would say the SOP, and as somebody from the humanity, especially from English, you know what we are into. When you are into English and you are in for graduate program, they believe you are doing more than going into the corporate world. You want to be an academic, right? You want to go into the academia. So what is the evidence? You must be able to show evidence of your your intellectual readiness for that endeavor, which is that you must have an appreciable number of publication. If you can, it does not have to be too robust. It doesn't necessarily have to be something too, elaborate or grand. You just have to show that you have something. Even if it's just maybe some random review of some friends' short story, collection of poetry or the like. Do something like that and put them in your application. Also, you can volunteer as a teacher. Let them see your track record, what you have done as somebody who is ready for the academia, you understand? And all of these, I'm sure. And when you are requesting somebody to write you references, don't be stand yourself out among the crowd by really seeking the attention of those who know you in toto, not just a random lecturer who will just give you random reference. You understand? These people, they can be very funny sometimes. Some lecturers, I can tell you, they have templates. I have no Akin Hosseini for 5 years. He was my student when you will write the same thing for Prosper, the same thing for Diche, the same thing for every other person. And then in the long run, you realize that nothing has actually stood you out among the pool of audience, the applicants. And these people here, despite the fact that, they still want the very best. They want the eggheads. They want the best among the applicants. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is why they will tell you, sometimes they grade you. They will say you rank 5%. Maybe they have 90 applicants or so. And then maybe they will tell you your ranking. So after gaining admission, then you start looking here and there for funding again. So it is very, very important you do all of this. Right? Review. Like for instance, the JAMB recommended text. Read. For some of us that are teachers, especially in the humanities, read the review, or some of us that are editor, you write. Read the review, or you can just pick up any writing. Pick it up, review it, so that when you are writing something, it will reflect. It will not, your statement of purpose will not be blank. You are telling them that you are ready for this, you want to go into this research interest, but then you don't have anything to show for it. The only thing you have done is that you made first class from your university, you went for NYSC, you serve in somebody like Zamfara. If you serve in Zamfara, they will even look at. So what is the evidence of your readiness for this program? So, and then when you are writing your statement of purpose, don't use highfalutin words. Simplicity does it. Do you understand? Just be simple, be lucid, so that even an average reader will be able to understand what you are saying. People that know me, they know I use big grammar. But when it comes to business, I don't do that because I don't want to jeopardize my chance. And I know what that means. I think SOP, your references, and in little way, perhaps your GRE, but those are not the core. Meanwhile, you should put it in mind that no part of the application, like they've always said, I'm sure some of the people here will gain witness. No part of the application is weightier than the others, but I want to only always playing to the gallery. So they give much prominence to the SOP. Try to convince them that you are indeed the genuine article. Thank you.
Wow, that's a lot of points in that answer. Thank you so much, Akin. I think I want to bounce this off of just what Akin has said, and I think Karen, I'll channel this to you. Akin has talked about some things, not just about what he did in NYSC or what he did in school or his grades, you know, or just GRE or something like that, but basically how he's able to connect all of these experiences to sell his case. So what was that like for you from your experiences in school? I know you did a lot of volunteering, then what you were doing at the moment when you started applying your work as well. How were you able to like take all of those and build like this strong profile? And what do you, what like, even when you go to Oklahoma, what do you feel like the professor said like to you or something that, oh, these are some things really liked you know, things that you've been able to read out to be things that made them really want to hire you?
Okay, so what Aki said is very true, right? About having a good SOP. And the reason why I resonate is because my school, I saw somebody asking about Ivy League schools. I mean, Ivy League schools are great, right? But it's also good for you to know, I'd rather go to OU than go to Harvard or Oxford. Reason because I'm doing petroleum engineering and those schools don't have petroleum engineering, right? So it's good for you to know top schools in your desired program of study too. They're like your program's Ivy League, sort of. So OU is one of such schools, and their requirements are very high, basically, right? So for OU, their GRE requirements is you have to have above 309, and you need to have 160 in your quants and 152 in your something like that in your verbal. But as I told you earlier, I'm not the smartest of people, honestly. Me, I don't even try to lie about that one. I'm not the smartest of people. I'm just a hard worker. So my GRE was a measly 308, right? So, I mean, it's not measly. Let me not sound proud, but like compared to the kind of school I wanted to go to and their standards, and I mean, all my friends that got funding had 315, 320, you know, even Prosper Self had 310s. He was part of, so I felt like, I know this is over. I almost did not apply to OU, right? So last minute, I'm like, let me just give it my all, right? So my friend then gave me like a book on how to write SOPs. So I had to study that book before even writing my SOPs, know how SOPs are like, SOPs for engineering, SOPs for, so I had to come from an angle, which is that I'm a lady, right? And I want this, right? I have done good things in other places, and that was my selling point. My point is this: my GRE did not meet the GRE requirements for my school, but I got admission and I got funding. So there is something else that must have sold me out, like Putana said. And if I'm being honest with you, I mean, if a couple of you follow me on LinkedIn, I have a really good profile. I mean, I've compared myself to my peers, and I know I have a good profile. I published a paper before I graduated from undergrad, so I had a publication. I volunteered a lot. I had won awards and all of that. And some things that you think you cannot, are not important, are important. For instance, when I was in 300 level, SPE gave me best officer of the year. To me, it was just a plaque I used to store in my house. But when you're telling somebody, even here in the US, that you want best officer in your SPE chapter, it's a big deal to them, because SPE, for those of us that don't know, the Society of Petroleum Engineers, and I'm sure different programs have such associations, it is internationally recognized. So to them, you're working on their standards. So I had all of these other good things working for me, aside from you know, my GRE score. Of course, I finished with the first class. I had a good IELTS score. I had an 8.0. So those are other things that stood out for me. So it was like it's a holistic process, basically, and I was not pinning on the fact my GRE score was not even in my SOP, because I felt like that was not my strength. It was a means to an end, basically. It was just like a requirement for me. That was not my strength that I was leveraging on. I was leveraging on my research potential that I had job experiences. I had worked in a servicing company, and I was currently working in ExxonMobil when I sent in my application. So I had those going for me. You know, I had experience, and I was willing to build on those. So those were the things I really leveraged on. And of course, I leveraged on the numerous scholarships I had won. Well, not numerous, it was just one, but I made it seem like a big deal. You know, I had won awards, I had won. So my point was, this means I just have to be an outstanding candidate, right? And then it means that if you accept me, I will not, I mean, the way I concluded my SOP, I was like, if you accept me to your team, not only will I be bringing my intellect, but I'll also be bringing the diversity of a female engineer from Africa in your team. If you see the way I coined it, even myself, I was like, is this me? Do you understand? So I had all of that going on for me, you know, and don't be modest. I tell people, I mean, on WhatsApp, well, I'm not modest on WhatsApp, but like on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on Twitter, I try to be a modest person. And I think normally I'm a modest person, but on places like LinkedIn, I intentionally want to be proud. On places like my CV, I intentionally want to be proud. If you've done something small, don't make it, try to look for a way to, you know, say this is what you've done and be proud about it. Own it, basically. I mean, I had volunteered a lot. I had volunteered for SPE on the international, national. I volunteered for different organizations, and I was willing to bring that to the limelight to see, aside from I'm not just the regular, I'm smart and that's it, you know, I try to balance my life. I have good leadership skills too. And I think that is one of the things they bought into, because currently now I'm the president of the SPE here at Norman, you know, and so far our record has been good compared to what it has been before. So those are the things that, you know, I feel like really stood out for me. If I'll say, it will be my leadership skills and my research skills. Because guess what? I came in as a TA, but I wanted to get an RA position in the summer. So I had to start a whole new set of pitching. And those were the things I leveraged on. I've done this research before. I've done this before. I know it's not your line, but if you look at me, you can see that I'm somebody that can easily be taught. You know, that is what my profile shows. I'm willing to learn. So if you can leverage on that, I'll be your ideal candidate, basically. Sell yourself and don't be miserly about it.
Very, very, very good points. Honestly, your SOP is not somewhere to be. Karen is right about that. Your SOP is not somewhere to be humble. Keep your humility at home when you're writing your SOP, and just take out time to brag about everything you've done. I see some questions coming in, but before I get some of the questions about SOP and Jerry, we have a section on this talk that will be focused on those. And over time as well, I'll be asking the panelists to also drop in any links they know of in the chat for SOP, Jerry, IELTS, or TOEFL materials. Dimitri, I wanted to bounce this next question to you. It was something unique about your story. You spent like 2 years through this whole process, applying and all that. What were you doing within those 2 years? Like, let's say from the start of your journey to when you finally got it, what changed in your profile, in your applications, you know, in your experience, in your story as well, that you were telling in your SOP? So what changed between then?
So when I started out this process, I was working full time. I was working in the bank, so it was a full-time job for me. I was in finance, so it made me want to, you know, go into the finance field and everything, from based of what I did in training school and every other experience I had gathered. I really wanted to do finance, so I started looking at schools that would give an MBA scholarship. First, I was very adamant to get a scholarship because. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. There is no way I was going to afford coming to the US without a scholarship. So I wasn't treating it that I would get admission, then get a scholarship separately, but I was treating it as I was going to look for only schools. I was going to filter for schools that would give a scholarship at the same time. So similar to what I had my own spreadsheet where I had schools, their GRE scores, application deadline, you know, what other heading did I have? Schools, application deadline, GRE scores, application fees, and if they had available scholarships. So I did all of that, but at the end of the day, I looked at it and I decided that I was going to go back to what I studied in my undergraduate, which was communication. So I started again preparing for GRE and trying to fit into the profile of what the school wanted. But the first step for anybody that is going to look into this journey, the first step I would advise you to do is first, you have to look at the school you're applying to. Don't just browse through the website or just, pick any school at random. You have to see the requirements, because most times the expo you're looking for, the shortcut you're looking for will be contained somewhere on the website, but you might not be able to see it because you're just rushing through it. You have to see, some schools place more emphasis on some aspects of your application than others. Like Karen was saying that why her schools had a minimum GRE score, they didn't have, they were still willing to look at applications because of some other things that she did. So you have to look at the school and everything. You have to look at every aspect of the school and what they wanted from you. So what I did was that for each school, I was willing to look at what they wanted from a candidate. What do you want from a successful candidate? There's even a section of the school where they would list they would list maybe class of the previous list class. They had everybody there. So you can, sometimes I go as far as looking at those people's emails, trying to find out what they are like. Sometimes I go to their LinkedIn and then look at their background and see how strong it is and then compare it to my own. But when I was preparing for my GRE, I was in touch with the graduate coordinator of the school and I asked him how important GRE was. And then he told me that they only look at the verbal of it. The verbal is more important to them than the quant. I knew I was not good in maths. I've never been good in maths, and I was just in the finance and barely coping with maths. That was part of the reason why I made a whole U-turn on everything from finance to communication. So when I looked at it, I started studying more on the verbal. I was doing the cards, I was doing the galvanized like Karen and Prosper. I was doing a whole lot of things just to make sure that I boost my verbal score to a very good level. And then I also, they also asked us to submit a writing sample. So I didn't have any publication. So I had to go and pick my undergraduate thesis and look at it again. So guess what? When I ran my undergraduate thesis through a plagiarism checker, it was like 75% plagiarized. So I took leave of absence from my office and literally rewrote the entire thesis to fit into the standard of in the standard that he wanted. So every material that I submitted, everything I did, I had to make sure that I did as much as I could. I had to make sure that I satisfied my own conscience, because I don't want to say that, I have a perfectionist tendency, but I like to do the best. I want to satisfy myself that whatever I'm putting in my best foot. If I don't do that, believe me, my conscience is going to judge me. So whatever material I have, whatever job I have to do, I know that I have to do the best for it. So I took a leave of absence, rewrote my entire undergraduate thesis in 1 month, and then submitted it to them. Then I wrote TOEFL. And then I realized that the school was giving a graduate teaching assistant. And what most schools look at when they give a TA, they either look at your ability to speak English language, they look at your TOEFL scores or your IELTS. Most especially, I noticed that they were also putting some emphasis on the speaking section of it. So when I was preparing for TOEFL, I had all of that in mind. I was like, okay, even if you do well in the reading and writing, make sure you get a good score in the listening aspect of it, in the speaking aspect of it. So I practice more for speaking than other section of TOEFL. So when you put all of these things together, and when I was writing my SOP, I included every single experience that I felt was going to be relevant. Like Karen said, there's no need to be modest. I was class rep in my class for 4 years. I put it there, that I led people for 4 years. It was not easy for me doing all of that. So I put it there the way I made it look like you would think that I was leading the entire Nigeria, to the promised land. But I put it there, I put that I had leadership experience, had a strong leadership background, and people looked up to me the way I made it look like. So not just that, I also put in the little experience that I had while in the undergraduate phase of my education. So one thing I'm going to say, try to be visible, be as visible as you can. First, during your undergraduate, don't just go through school and you're just going through only lectures. Any little opportunity you see to volunteer, any little opportunity you see to hold a political position or hold a volunteer position or come out, just be out. So I tell everybody, just come out, look for something that you know you can do that can contribute to the strength of your personality at the end of the day. So I was in some organizations in school, just a little bit of them, and I tried to when they say they want to contest for something, I came out and people will be like, every time you're always coming out to contest for something, you're always coming out to, be something. But I'm like, these are the things that you're going to put together at the end of the day that will make people know that you have a background in something. So it's not just, people were short-sighted about the whole thing, but you have to look towards the future, because at the end of the day, what they want to see is the entire applicant. They want to see you both as socially relevant. They want to see you as book smart. They want to see everything about you. So you have to be able to put all these things together. And when you write your SOP and you put it there, it will look like you have done, so many things that have accumulated over time into this whole personality that you're seeing right now. So be visible, be vocal, and learn to highlight and bring out all your relevant experiences.
Very, very, really, really great points, Dirichi. Thank you so much for that. Prosper, I kind of wanted to bounce off the last question for you on this segment, and that is there an ideal applicant? Is there a defined ideal applicant? Oh, this person has maybe graduated with a 5.00 in undergrad or something like that. Looking at your own profile of people you've seen around you as well in school, profile of people you've seen get into other schools as well. Well, who would you say is the ideal applicant?
Okay, thank you very much for that. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. To me, I would actually say there is no ideal applicant, because what might work for one person might not work for the other person. As an engineering student, having publications or a publication is very important, especially when you want to go to grad school. It's very important. But I mean, I did my undergrad. Throughout my undergrad, I didn't publish nothing. Even my final year project, I didn't publish my final year project. Anytime Karen asks me to send my final year project that she wants to work on it so we can publish it, I always try to make sure we just talk about something else, because I know what I did, So I didn't have no publication. I thought probably maybe not having any publication would actually hinder me a lot. But I spoke to some couple of friends I have already in US, and I had this particular friend that he didn't have no publication during his application too, but he got full funding, and he got the school he wanted. So I was like, fine. I mean, if he could do it and he could get funding, then I could also try. So since I had no publication, I needed to work on other strengths. My CGPA was good, yeah, and my GRE score was okay, but I needed to work on my SOP and my statement of purpose. I needed to make sure I sell myself very well there, because I couldn't sell myself with publication there. So I needed to work on other things in my SOP. So during my undergrad, I didn't do a lot of volunteering in undergrad. All these working as an officer, there were a lot of things I regretted I didn't do in my undergrad, like publishing a paper and also volunteering for different organizations. But there was something I know I did that I'm also proud of till today. I represented my school along with my other teammates in the petrol quiz. I mean, at least I knew I needed to use my head for something. So I represented my school twice in 2017 and 2018, and we won. We came first in Africa, so it was a big thing for me. So since my publication was not there, but I knew I had a competition that I could actually brag about on my SOP, I actually focused on that as my strength. I mean, if you read my SOP, you'll be like, why is this guy bragging? Why is this guy being very proud? I mean, you were not the only one on your team, but I actually made sure that when you read it, you know that, okay, yes, this person actually did a lot for his team. So I had to work on that as my strength. And I also added my experience, my job experience, because I mean, I did my internship in Chevron, but that was the only oil company I worked in. Others have been working from one company to another, but because that was the only oil company I worked in, I made sure every little thing I did there, the experience I had, I added it to my statement of purpose. I made it seem like I worked there for like 5 years, because I did a lot of things in a short space of time. But the thing is, after constructing this SOP, this statement of purpose, I sent it to Karen. I think she sent it to her friends in US, and she came back and it was looking like my SOP was messy. Like, you need to change this, you need to change this. I was not looking like, I mean, it made me feel like maybe I was not ready for grad school, because she was like, no, Prosper, this SOP is not good enough. You need to work on it. And every time she says that, I actually feel bad. But still, because I knew where I was going to, I would always go back and work on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the new one. And she comes back again, okay, this line, I don't think you should add this line. I think you should remove it. And I was like, Karen, really? I mean, this is just SOP. It's now that I'm actually seeing the importance that SOP is actually, statement of purpose is very important in grad school. You need to sell yourself very well in the statement of purpose. So that was what I did. And I know there are some people that probably maybe their SOP might not be as good as the one I had, but probably maybe they had a very good CGPA, or maybe not even, maybe their CGPA was maybe like a 2-1, but they had publications. So you have different areas where you know you have your strengths in. So everything you try to sell yourself in your statement of purpose. So to me, I would actually say there is no ideal candidate. Just sell yourself the best way you can with your strengths. So that's it. Thank you.
Excellent points. Excellent point, Prosper. Thank you so much for sharing. Akin, there's one question here on the chat that I think is relevant to this particular section. It's from Olomachi Immaculate. She's asking that you talked about convincing them on your interest to be in academia. What if someone is not interested in academia and you just want the masters? Would you advise them to lie, or what would be your advice to them?
Okay. In fact, I think I sent a private message to her. I have responded to her, but it is very relevant that we discuss that openly so that it can serve some purpose to other person who are listening. Good. Maybe I was sentimental about my own choice in my engagement anyway. But then the truth is that if you indeed want the master, yeah, let's be sincere. Maybe some of us, the plan B thing anyway, some people want it as plan B. But regardless of whatever you want a master's program for, you must have a focus. There's always that future gaze. Like I told her in my DM, even if you are not coming for as an academic, maybe you are going into the corporate world or whatever endeavor you are going for, you have something that you must have been doing. You build something on something, and you must also have a track record. You must have a success story to tell. If not as a teacher, it could be as an editor. It could be as a public speaker. It could be maybe as an editor. It could be as a journalist. All of those are still disciplines that are very much relevant to humanity, especially as somebody in English. I was talking about somebody in English, even if you are from if you are from the social sciences and all of those. So I still think this still applies to you. If you are not in for academia, there is something you must have been doing, and you would certainly have a success story to tell. There is nobody without a story. And that is why they say there is a book in every man. So just tell your story, establish your social relevance. I think it was Prosper that made that a point, or Karen, that you should try to show your social relevance. Show them that you have been useful to yourself as much as you will be useful to them in America. And as such, you are really going to convince them. You don't even have to lie. You must have something to tell. You don't need to lie. And like Prosper did say, show your statement of purpose to people. What you think is the best to you might not actually be the best. And what you think is and little thing counts, especially to these Westerners. It's not the same thing as what we have over there. Was it Karen that was saying she was the course rep or so? You look at some of those things, even to the point of maybe you volunteer, you can add it as experience, something that is not really serious. And they will count it for you as work experience. It's not this, they don't have the same mentality as we do have over there. So just tell them something reasonable that will convince them about the program you're applying for, and show them the reason why you are a worthy candidate. If you are the ideal candidate, even though Prosper says there's no ideal candidate, and I agree with his own point of view. I agree on that. In fact, I was about saying it, but because Latana wanted us to say something that really convinced, the members of the faculty in our application. So I didn't see anything to say. I finished with the second class. My GRE was not impressive. You understand? So
Oh,
I I look at it and I've been somebody, I teach a lot and I try to write too. I review, I do some publication and all of those. That's why these people, they don't have this prejudice. They believe if something is not working for somebody, something must work for them. Do you understand? And that is why it is holistic system. If your GRE is not too compelling, you have and you don't and you have good CGPA, good grade, you are likely to have maybe good SOP. You must have one of those. So that is why I agree with my brother that there is no ideal candidate. You only have a specifically ideal candidate. If I will so modify it, you have a specifically, so you have to specify your own area. You tailor whatever you are doing. You will be surprised that even by the time you finish and you meet people in school and you see their dossiers, their academic dossier and what they have done, you ask yourself, how did I merit this thing? How come? But I was chosen among these lions.
I
So that's
agree.
simple like that.
I mean,
So thank you very
I
much.
got here and all my colleagues, their GRE scores 325, 330. I said, who am I? At times I'll say, I've been taking the same classes, and things like that. Sorry, Dr. Before we continue, I want to make some comments. Please stop sending me your email addresses in the chat box. I can't copy all of them within this period.
Yes.
But I have written my own. So just send me an email. I'll send you all the materials, the recording, the materials I have, and everything I have, and I can give you. Right?
Thank you, Karen, for that. I think I'm going to do the same. It is better. We have almost about 200 persons over here. So let's just drop our mail so that people can reach out to us.
Yeah, drop your emails or your LinkedIn as well. Yeah, Karen, go ahead.
It's regarding this lying thing, right? There is no need to lie. So I feel like we should have started from this place. Now, if you're coming to the US or any other place, everywhere in the world, if you're going for your master's degree, there are two options. There is the thesis and the non-thesis option, right? Now, the non-thesis option means you just want to take courses and know what it's about, and it's mostly people that are professionals that maybe they want better insight on the subject or things like that. So you can do the non-thesis option. You don't need to do any research. You don't need to do any project. Just do your courses, do a small project, and you do your master's, which is mostly what UK schools offers. All the Imperial, Aberdeen, their option, their masters are normally the non-thesis option, which is why they can do their masters in 1 year or 1.5 years. But in the US, there is a non-thesis option, and with the non-thesis option, you mostly have to pay for your fees. You have to pay for yourself because you want to be taught, right? Now, for the thesis option, it means you're telling them that you are sound enough or you are smart enough to come to their school and do research. So like you're like a pseudo PhD student, sort of, right? Because you're going to spend like 6 credits working on your thesis, which you might start working on the first semester you get to school or the last semester, whichever. So now if you're applying for, and they will ask you when you're applying, are you applying for a thesis or a non-thesis, right? So when you say you're applying for a non-thesis, it opens you up to the funding options. Now, the funding options, there are 3 types. There is the graduate research assistantships, the graduate teaching assistantships, or just the graduate assistantship. If you're just a graduate assistantship, you can just be working for a department in the school doing administrative work. You don't have to teach your research. You can even be doing a non-thesis master's and get that option, and you're good to go. Some schools, their GA options come with tuition waiver. Some schools, their own don't come. You have to research on your school and know the school you want to go to and know their options. Now, for the graduate teaching assistantship, which I am, and I think the Richie is as well, you might be required to teach, right? So you have to have interest in academia. For you to be applying to become a GTA or a TA, you are telling them that you already have interest, right, in academia. If you don't have interest, don't bother, because you might actually teach, right? In my school, GAs do not teach. GAs do not teach. GAs is part of their big school kind of thing. GAs do not teach, so you just assist. So I assist. But some other schools, you might actually teach. And in my school, another department in my school, you rotate between teaching and not teaching. So you have to know how it is, for your school. Or you can be a GRA, which Akin is, and I can't remember who else did GRE. So that's a graduate research assistant. So you are actually assisting a professor in his research. So you cannot be telling a professor that you want to apply to become a GRE in his school and you don't want to do research. Do you get? So you know the kind of thing you're passionate about before you apply to the school. Also, there are scholarships you can get and you don't have to get funding from the school. So there are a lot of them if you want to go through that route too. So I just thought to clarify. So you don't have to lie or not lie. You just have to know what you're interested in and you go through that route basically. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe
Yeah,
if I can
thanks,
just
Flo.
jump in real quick. See,
Yeah,
if you're looking for
Richie,
okay.
sorry. No, you can answer, but I just wanted to say, like, well, while answering, there's one question in the chat I also wanted to attend to, and it's from Olomachi actually. She's asking that, did you have to remove your banking experience, or do you think having experience in a different field lifts your profile? So while answering that, you can also please just comment on that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. See, if you're looking for the kind of scholarships that we have access to, a teaching assistant or a research assistant, you have to be interested in academia. So I think that's what Akim meant when he was saying, show them some interest, show them that you have some interest in academia. You cannot escape it. Even when you're writing your GRE and you see the type of passages you have to read to understand the GRE, the whole GRE thing. They are technical passages. You will come across technical articles. You will have to read, you have to analyze. Even in grad school, you have to do all of that. So that's why you have to have at least an interest in academia. Even if you don't have a prior background in academia, you have to be able to show them that it's something that you likely be able to do. So while you may not have publications, you may not have anything, this is what is expected of you. So you have to go ahead and show them that I don't have it, but I know how to get it when time comes there. So I think that's possibly the angle that is coming from. And to the person that asked about my banking experience. So while I was in the bank, I was the assistant branch manager, and my function was assisting the branch manager and then running the branch literally. So there were a lot of things to do. But when I was applying to my school, I didn't want to put exactly that I was, the assistant branch manager that involved cash and tellering and everything. So I tried to highlight the part I felt was going to be important to the school. And part of my duties was I also ran the customer service desk. And when you look at it, customer service involved a lot of communication. So what I highlighted in my CV that I submitted to the school, I put assistant branch manager. Then in the brackets, I put customer service supervisor. That way, I'm able to link what I did. It's not like I'm lying or omitting, but I feel like telling them that I handled Excel, I handled cash, I handled ATM, it's not directly relevant to what I'm applying for as a communication student. But telling them that I handled customer service, I did a lot of communication with customers, I submitted customer-related reports, I generated data related, it just kind of framed it in such a way that it made me fit for that position. So yes, I included my banking experience, but I only highlighted what I felt was relevant to my program, because the other parts might not that it would do my application any bad, but like I said, you just have limited space, you have limited materials to submit, so you don't have to include like everything, but you have to highlight what you did that that will be relevant, even if it's not directly relevant, but it can have an effect on your application, so you can streamline it that way. I did not remove my banking experience. I suffered too much to remove my banking experience from my CV anyway. It's not possible. There's no way I'm going to, that banking experience will not be there. It will be there, but I can modify it to fit into, what is needed. Because to be honest, I had a hard time in the bank. And then I was studying for GMAT. I wake up by 3 a.m., start reading, then 7, I had to be in the bank. I don't come back 8 p.m. Nobody can take away that banking experience from my CV. I won't do that, but I'm just going to modify it to what is relevant. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. That's an excellent answer. And just to throw it out there, I think even in my own CV and SOP as well, the NYSC teaching we did as well, I had to repackage it. I had to include the fact that, I was teaching and grading a class of 60 pupils, 60 students. And to you in Nigeria doing it, it's common, everyone is doing it. To them here in the US, not everyone is doing it. We all write projects in Nigeria. Not everyone in the USA writes projects for their undergrad. So when you're saying that you wrote a project, you wrote a thesis, to you it's a common thing, but to them here it's a big thing. So I like the fact that we've highlighted all of these points. And I kind of just wanted us to go to the next segment, which is on the part of schools. I think I've also seen a couple of questions here, one from Ajibola about getting a list of possible schools and possible scholarships. Prosper, I think I'll start off this segment with you. How did you decide on your major or discipline? Was it literally just based on your bachelor's? Have you seen people that actually went pivoted from their own bachelor's or primary degree to a different field? So how do you decide on that choice of major discipline? Or is it also about the one that you're most likely to get funding in? Yeah, let's just hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that. So initially, I still want to study data science or something related to that, but my love for petroleum is still there. It's everlasting. You get, but I also needed to apply for something that I know that I was going to get funding. If you actually check, it's very hard to get funding in data science or informatics in the US. I mean, it's a course that is actually booming right now. So it's really expensive, and they don't really have much funding now because it's new. So applying for data science directly from Nigeria to the US was going to be hard to get funding. So I needed to apply to something that I know I could actually get funding easily. And since I did petroleum engineering in my undergrad, and I still love petroleum engineering, I decided to apply to petroleum engineering because I know my SOP, I could easily tell a lot of stories in petroleum engineering. And if I'm applying for a graduate assistantship, I know I can be able to work as a teaching assistant with the professor, because if the professor wants me to maybe grade some students' assignments, I could easily relate to what the assignment is about because I did petroleum engineering. And if I was to work as a research assistant, I could actually research with the professor because I know the basics of petroleum engineering. So, but it's not like the only thing. I know a lot of people that did mechanical, chemical, or they did petroleum engineering and they switched to some other engineering, maybe mechanical. You just have to do what you want, and you also have to consider the departments you know you're going to get funding easily. You know, if let's say I did petroleum engineering in my undergrad and someone else did mechanical engineering in his undergrad, and we both applied to mechanical engineering in the school, and let's say we have almost similar profile, a lecturer might want to work with the person that did mechanical engineering based on his experience, his high CGPA, compared to me that did petroleum engineering. But I'm not saying a lecturer won't work with me too. I mean, it's not like you have to apply to what you did in your undergrad. You can actually switch. But for me, I actually considered what was going to give me funding. And I know if I apply, because a lot of people, they don't want to apply to petroleum engineering because of the whole stuff going on. But what I tell them is, even if you don't apply to petroleum engineering has more funding than data science in the US. So you can apply to petroleum engineering, just like what Karen did. She applied for petroleum engineering. She didn't apply for data science. She came to the US and she applied for data science in the US. I can actually switch from petroleum engineering to informatics or data science because I'm in the US now. But I needed to apply to something that was going to give me funding, full funding to come to US. Then when I come to US, I can switch. I can make my decision. So that was very important for me. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for that. Akin, I want to kind of bounce this off to you as well. Deciding on major discipline, and also not just major and discipline, but your path. You know, going from either a bachelor's to master's or bachelor's straight to PhD. So how did that decision work for you?
Okay, thank you. I think for me, it was quite simple, and I'll still go back to my background, even from as an undergraduate, and somebody who already somebody who knows me understand what I'm saying. I have had passion for academia from the outset. In fact, I had a couple of undergraduates I was taking as a distance learner tutor, so to say. So I knew I was going to eventually settle for that. So when the guy sent the link, and I finished from UI as an English graduate with emphasis on literature. So I'll go for literary and textual studies, which is just BGSU way of naming what I did at University of Ibadan. That's another thing. A couple of some of our friends, I think somebody was trying to like discuss the complexity that has to do with the complexity about naming. Some courses will be named certain way in Nigeria and people will not know that it's the same thing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's something we also need to get people to understand. So maybe somebody that sees literary and text, that is easy to even understand for any English graduate anyway. So the only thing I think I did on my part, like you have said, anyway, I'm in for masters, but I wish I had known from Nigeria that one could, throw one's arts in the ring for PhD with the first degree. So I didn't know that, but then I'm knowing, and I can tell you that there are many institutions that are waiting for us. In fact, to go back to what, if I would go back, revisit our initial discussion on the issue of academia or no academia, do you know, especially the Ivy League school, some schools will tell you, once you are coming for postgraduate program in their school, like masters, they are taking you in as a potential PhD candidate. And that is why some schools do not even have master's program. Stanford, I think Carnegie Mellon, Yale, what's it? MIT, if it is for thesis, like Karen has said, they don't take you as master student. They will accept you as a potential PhD student. I don't know if Lutana agrees with what I'm saying, because he is more experienced in that regard than we are. So what I just try to do is that when you settle for the choice of school and you decide what you really want and you think it fits into your long-time plan, like you are going to have it in your SOP, you just try to tailor around your own experience and let them know there is a vacuum. It also helps you. Don't, even while you are trying to exaggerate, which is the best thing. Karen and Richie have told us why we don't need to be humble, especially when you are seeking admission or you want to get something from these white people. They want you to be proud. They don't like modesty. You don't need to be modest. So prove to them, but ensure that you create a space for a vacuum. And that is why you are always telling them about, you are always writing a proposal. What do I mean by vacuum? Okay, as a potential academic in literary theory and criticism, do you understand? I've been exposed to many theories in Nigeria at the University of Ibadan. I think you understand. But as vast and as highly productive as the Nollywood is, attention is hardly given, especially in our university, to Nollywood production, which is supposed to be a major genre of literary criticism, but that is not there. But I'm sure I've read through the webpage. I'm sure Bowling Green State University will give me this opportunity because I've seen through it. And funnily, when I thought I was just exaggerating to get my way through, I have had a potential supervisor now with some of the stories I told. In fact, I took the professor's course, and in the long run, it is paying off. Do you understand what I'm saying? So try to look at, it is not everything that we just try to lie our way in, or maybe we try to exaggerate our way in. Do you understand? You still look at what will happen because it will bounce back. Even though you are eventually admitted, there are some things that will be required of you to do. If you don't, you get frustrated, or like some of our mates that you just start giving the little money you are earning to your people to write thesis and some other assignment for you. So make sure that you look at what you don't have here that you are likely to have out there. So when you say this and you tell it in your story, then it's really going to help your decision, and it's going to also help your chance. It's going to boost your chance of getting admitted. And that is what I think informed my own choice. Nigeria University of Ibadan, as popular as the university is for English and literature, we have not been adapting film and movie criticism. And I'm sure a vast majority of us, even in the audience, they say a picture makes 1,000 words. Is that not? How many people have the time to read books? Do you understand? But now almost everyone sees what is happening on Prime, Amazon Prime, is it Prime Video? What do we call it? YouTube, I mean, Netflix and the like. So if somebody is going into this, it is something that, even though it is not new, but it may be relatively new to our system. Even if you are not staying in the United States, you can have many of the private universities in Nigeria in the long run, maybe after your PhD, then they are going to accept you. It's going to give you that big opportunity to really get, appointed, because there are very few persons who do this. Almost everybody is talking about Shakespeare, Chinua Achebe, who is talking about the criticism of Mulia Folayan. Today is the, I think, official premiere of Tunde Kilani's and Lao Maura and the like. All of these things, these people will help you. They will really forge you into the desired scholar that you want. So all of these things should also inform your decision, not only about just jackpine, like we say. That is if truly you are committed, to this academia of a thing. So they actually helped my own decision at that particular point in time. I knew what I wanted, and I saw it in the school, and it was easy, and it also helped me to convince them my SOP, and then maybe perhaps, who knows, it's also helped in its little way in my, acceptance into the institution.
Well, lots of points to take in there. And yes, for those of you asking in the chat, you can go from a bachelor straight to a PhD, unless the specific department in that school states that a master's is compulsory for a PhD. If it is not stated there, you can't get a PhD admission with a bachelor's. You just, again, have to learn how to sell yourself. Karen, I kind of wanted to send this next question to you. Someone is asking about a list of possible schools to apply to and the criteria of applications and possible scholarships. But I wanted to frame it in a different way. How do you find the right school for you? Was it about your major? Was it about the funding? Was it about getting an advisor? Was it about the reply as well? Was it about the ranking of the university? So how were you able to frame what was the right school for you?
Okay, different people have different things they consider when considering the school they end up with. For me, I wanted to go to a high-ranking school, right? So I know my friend is always like, just apply to any school with your profile, you get a good school. But I wanted to go to a high-ranking school, and well, that is the thing. I did not just want to go to a high-ranking school. I wanted to go to a high-ranking school for petroleum engineering, because first of all, I did my undergrad in petroleum engineering and I was good at it. So I felt doing my master's in petroleum engineering would be great too, right? It'll be easy for me. Well, it's not easy, but I thought it would be easy for me, you get. So I then decided to check for the top schools in the US for petroleum engineering. Mind you, like Akin said, some schools call it different things, especially because I did not just apply in the US. I applied to schools in the US, I applied in the UK and Canada. In Canada, they call, some people will say energy engineering. In Canada, their petroleum engineering is in their civil engineering department at times. It's not in they don't have a petroleum engineering department. So I had to look out for all of those things too. So I went ahead to apply to like top schools for petroleum engineering. No, I went ahead to get details, right, of top schools in petroleum engineering, because I wanted to do petroleum engineering. But after getting those schools, the ranking, the next thing, you see the way Lotana arranged it, I took it from the back, ranking, advisor, then funding. So after I got my top schools and I noted them out, I then went on to check for possible advisors. I started sending mails, sending professors emails, sending schools emails, sending department head emails. So as I was getting rejects, I was ticking them off. I started sending these mails before my GRE results came out. So I started early. Well, not so early, because I started between October and November. And mind you, you have to work with deadlines. Deadlines for most schools was December 15th. So I had to get my responses and apply before December 15th. It was a bloody period for me, but we're here now. So I started sending emails to professors, started sending emails to advisors, department heads, and program coordinators, all of that. So some schools got back to me, I applied this, try next year, I will check them off. Some schools got back to me, they don't have funding, I check them off. And as I was applying, I had my GRE score, but I didn't have my analytical.
So I was applying with my GRE score, my CV, and research I've done, what I've worked on. So I was choosing their mails. This is my profile. This is what I've done. Do you think that I have funding in your school? Do you think I'm a good candidate? Do you think if I apply, I have a shot, basically? So I kept sending them mails, potential advisors. So in OU, one man finally responded to me and said he would be interested in working with me. I should send him my details, right? Different people replied me. In LSU, a lady replied me and said she'd be interested in working with me, that do I have programming skills? I didn't have programming skills then, so I said I didn't have, and I lost that shot, right? In Texas Tech, they said I should just keep in touch and things like that, right? So after all the schools, after some people said in University of Kansas, the lady said, yeah, she thinks I have a really good profile. I should go ahead and apply. I went ahead and applied. In LSU, the lady said, so everybody that said, oh yeah, I think you have a good profile, go ahead and apply. Or I'm interested in working with you, apply. Let's see your profile in a holistic view. So all the schools that got back with me with that positive, with a green light, basically, I then went ahead to apply, right? So after applying, I then started my next phase of follow-up mails. Okay, so I've applied, what's next? I've applied, what's next? I've applied, what's next? You know, and eventually OU got back to me with full funding. OU was the first school to get across to me with full funding. And OU was actually my top school because for some reason I didn't want to go to school in Texas. So I didn't bother applying to any of the top schools in Texas. It was only Texas Tech, and Prosper already threatened my life that Masters doesn't get funding, only PhD gets funding. Let's apply. So I said, okay, let's apply, you know. So OU got back to me and they said, they gave me full funding and everything. I mean, I was really surprised and it was a good news. And I'm like, okay. University of Kansas kept saying, okay, we'll get in touch with you. We are working on it. We've pushed your name and things like that. LSU got back and said, I should really need somebody in programming. So like that, I kept crossing them out. Texas Tech finally got back and gave me partial funding. Colorado finally got back and gave me partial funding if I was going to school online. I mean, I knew they wouldn't really give me funding because they gave me admission for mechanical engineering there. So, I mean, OU was my top choice and I had full funding. So it was actually a no-brainer for me. But that was how I finally decided to come to OU. Some people check for the syllabus, you know, their research interest, which is great. But my prior research experience, which was in petrophysics, I didn't want to do that for my master's because it was good, but I don't think it's what I want to continue. I wanted to do something more related to sustainable energy. So it was good for me because when reaching out to professors, I could reach out to professors with the aspect of, oh, I have worked in petrophysics, you know, do you want to take me? I could also reach out with the aspect of, I'm interested in this new aspect, do you want to take me, and things like that. But like, I mean, I'm happy things played out the way they are and I'm doing what I like now. But that was basically how I decided on the schools I wanted to do. So ranking first, then potential advisors, then I applied, then funding landed me here, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those great points. I think
okay,
I have
sorry, before I move on, there's somebody that just said, how did I get to the professors? Schools in the US are not like schools in Nigeria. Their websites are active pages. You get. So if you go to the website, you go to the department. I think searching for schools is also a big deal. You need to know how to go about these things. If you go to the school's website, you check their departments, no matter their departments or academics or there's something else they call it that starts with an A, academics or applications. Yeah. Okay. You can check the department, how to apply. If you go to the department, you can see like their possible faculty for their, in short, I am on my school's website. It is that grand, right? So they will show you the professors, their areas of interest. They will even show you graduate students like me, areas of interest. So aside from even faculty, you could reach out to graduate students and say, oh, I see you're working in this area. Do you have any recommendation and things like that? You know, they could kind of put you through, because I had a friend that was here in OU too that, I mean, I met him on LinkedIn and I really liked his profile and I'm like, okay. So he was the one that even sent me the requirements for GRE and all of that when it first came out, before I even wrote my GRE, and I started working towards it and things like that. So you could also reach out to like their graduate students, you could reach out to their faculty, their research, some we even redirect it to their website where you can see their papers. Sorry, let me point this out. They have their paper. Don't just reach out to a professor in email and say, I want to work with you. No, take out your time. I mean, that's why it's really intensive. Many professors is, I think I'm getting into the next person's, but let me just finish up. It's intensive.
Yeah, no worries.
From their website, you can see their publications, read their future publications. If it comes with something you've done in the past, you can juxtapose that together in your email. The several professors, I had to read their papers and say, I have read your paper on this, and I have worked on this, and I think I can add value to your team and stuff like that. So it shows that really you're interested, not just that you're sending for the fun of sending an email. So if you go to the school's website, normally you have their professors there. In short, if you get the professor's name and the email is not there, contact them on LinkedIn. There are a couple of people I reach out to on LinkedIn, you know. In this grad school application, if you really want to do it and your parents don't have money like my parents, it is not an either or, I will do this or I'll do this. It is answer all, shoot all the possible shots. In short, the day I stopped applying to schools was the day I got my OU funding. I was packing my application for one school in New Zealand when I just got the funding and I stopped halfway. So it is not, I will do this or I will do this. No, have all your options listed out and a lot of options just in case, right? You might be lucky like me and your top choice will be where you get, but that might not be your case. So I don't want to hear like the Richie said, oh, this did not work out. No, I want to give you my all so I know that it worked out. I gave you my all, right? So if it doesn't work out, then it's the hand of God. It's not for me because I have done everything I could possibly do. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that's a lot of points there. Thank you so much, Karen. There are some questions in the chat about HND positions, and I think Dayo is already answering much of those as well. Dayo is one of the coordinators of our WhatsApp group where we share tips like this regularly. We also share email samples and templates, not for you to copy because they have probably been used for several schools, but for you to get an idea of how to craft that first email to a potential advisor. Diricha, I wanted to take this next one to you. How did you, how important is it to contact professors in this application process? You know, how do you decide on which professors to contact? Is it important? Is it compulsory for you to do it? And if not, any other way you could cover up for that if it's a lapse?
Okay, so before I answer this question, I want to quickly run through the previous question, just very quickly, just 1 minute, because
yeah, sure.
I wanted to add to it. So first, before you start applying, you have to just remove your mind that you'll be doing a lot of work. So how badly do you want this? Just keep asking yourself, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want this? Do you want it so very much? If you want it very much, you know that you have to go all out for it. So for me personally, I had to look at the requirements of each school. Like I said, I had an Excel that I used to. I looked at the requirements. One of the things that I didn't want to do was to evaluate my transcripts. I did not want to evaluate my transcript, sending it to West or West sending back, my transcript getting lost in transit, you know, all those stuff I do. So when I see schools that say, we need evaluated copy of your transcript, you're out already. If I just see that requirement there, you're out. So I had schools that, you know, gave good offers and were ready to fund and all, but then they're like, you're going to need to send in an evaluated copy of your transcript. I just be like, no, I won't even bother myself with this. So I let this. So you can look at the requirement. The next I looked at funding, there was no way again I was going to come to the US if I didn't have funding. So it was that bad for me. So I had to look at schools that partial funding out of my way, half funding out of my way, one leg in, one leg out funding out of my way. So unless I got assurance of a full funded scholarship or full graduate assistantship that would cover most of my living expenses, I wasn't going to apply to that school. So I was doing this with my own money and I was being very intentional and selective about which programs I was going to apply to. So, and then the areas of interest, some schools will have some section, like I don't know about other courses, but my course is divided into 1 million things. So you have to be sure that what you say you want to focus on is what you want to focus on. Because at the end of the day, you might end up not focusing on what you want, but you just have to have an idea about what you're going to do. So you have to read up. Like me, when I was applying, I said I was going to do organizational communication, but then coming to the US and knowing everything I know now, I've shifted my research interest from organizational communication to media identity and feminism. So that's what I'm doing now. Which was not even what I intended to do. But the important thing is do what you have to do to come in first. Do what you have to do to come in. And then from where you come in, you can diversify, you can move. Like I'm also doing some health research too with a professor in medical school. You can do everything, but when you come in first, you'll be able to settle. And then to the question of did you need to contact professors or whatever? So when I was doing my research, I found out that contacting of professors and potential advisors and supervisors is more prevalent in sciences, with the sciences. So you see, when I was doing, I read like on Ireland, I read the pages from part 1 to part 6. So I had answers to a lot of questions. So that when people like science students, most of them that do a lot of research, they want to align themselves with professors that they share the same research interests. So they sift for those professors, they organize them and start sending mails based on research interest. So yes, you might get a professor that might be willing to take you onto his research team and fund you from there. So it's very important especially for those in the sciences, it's very important for you to find a professor with your research interest, because you'll find that there are so many interests, there are so many fields you can go into in your own one field. I say, even if you want to get a master's in sweeping and packing or mopping and cleaning, I'm sure you will find this specialization here. So because it's so wide, you have to be able to be specific about the professor that you send your inquiries to. And then sending inquiries to the professor, it requires a lot also. You just don't pick a mail and send it, or just pick anything, or send mass email. You have to send personalized email. How does it feel like if somebody calls your name and directs attention to you? Maybe somebody chats you up on WhatsApp and said, "Hi, Dirichi, I know you from this place," or "I know that you're involved in this, I know you're involved in that." It sounds like this person knows you. You want to listen to that person. So that's how it's like when you're sending to, you have to be sure that this person that you're about to send email, you have to send a personalized stuff to him. Just don't send a mass email to him. You have to read his own, his or her. You have to read their research interests. You have to read what they've been involved with. If possible, take your time, maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days to look at their backgrounds and everything. So when you're saying it, you know what you're saying. When I was writing my SOP, I included 2 professors in my SOP. I remember that I had to do 1 week of research into those professors, because including them, I had to say something that only somebody that had read their works would say. So it's not just about she published so in communication. No, I had to go and look for something that once they read it, if that professor is on the admission team and she sees that, she's going to know that, yes, this person read my stuff. So that's what I wanted to do at that point. That's what I was looking for. So I had to do a lot of research into the professor and then make it as personalized as possible. But for people in non-STEM, you may not need to go and look for professors that will take you on. Everything you need is on the school website. Be very open to reading what is on the website. So everything you need for non-STEM, the website will guide you on what you need. You may not need to go and look for professors that you would do research interest in or anything. The school will fix you when it's time to be fixed. So that's the extent of what I know about that.
And that is why we wanted people in STEM and non-STEM on this panel. See, I did not know that for us in STEM, it was almost like it was practically compulsory for us to contact professors. I have just one last question I wanted us to tackle in this segment as well. I think we've spoken about securing funding, full or partial assistantship and all that. Someone is asking a question, John Adejumo. He said, why are US schools more preferred? Is it because of the practicals or something else? And the reason I'm asking this also is, what's your general take on applying to schools in countries other than the US? What's your general take and your advice and recommendation? Prosper, do you want to kick off on that?
Okay, so about the first question, why people apply to US. I mean, I think from the research I've actually done so far, US schools offer a lot of graduate assistantship. They give a lot of graduate assistantship. I mean, it's different from what I've seen in UK, whereby UK you get a scholarship whereby you are not assisting any professor. Your tuition has been paid. You get paid stipend every month. But in the US, I see a lot of graduate assistantship whereby you have to come work with a professor, either maybe as teaching assistant or research assistant. So that's why a lot of people actually consider choosing US. And not like they do the same thing in Canada too. You can actually get great assistance, but you can't really compare the number of funding you will get in Canada with US. US, a lot of they put in a lot of money to their research. The amount US the federal government in US would actually send to schools to put into research will be different from what Canada would actually do. And it's actually very tough to get an assistantship in Canada compared to US. That's why you see many people opting to go to US. I applied to schools in Canada too, but I didn't get no feedback. But I applied to schools in US and I was able to get assistantship. I also applied to schools in UK, but not for great assistantship. It was for direct scholarship from Nigeria, like PTDF, Shell Scholarship, AJIP, Total. So I applied for all those scholarships, but the thing is, I didn't get any of them. My last hope was even on Shell, and Shell still disappointed me. So I said, okay, UK seems I have no business with you. Let me just go to US. That they seem to be giving me positive feedback. So I actually say it's because of the more availability of credit assistantship in US. The funding is actually it's very high in US. That's why a lot of people tend to apply to US schools. Yeah. So what was the second question actually? Yeah.
I think you kind of answered it in that. You kind of answered it in that as well. You already talked about UK, Canada also. We're approaching the final 20 minutes of this session. Now, any attendee, if you feel you've not answered your question, any question you posted in the chat, I know I've been trying to go through all of them and summarizing them. You can please post it again.
So there was one question.
Then
there was one question I saw. Somebody said if like if you don't have publication, what's going to happen? I mean, I stated it earlier that during my application, I didn't have no publication. So, but I had to focus on my other strengths, like the competition I won for my school with my colleagues and my experience, my working experience. So I had to focus on those aspects because I didn't have no publication. So even if you don't have publication, I mean, but publication is very important, especially in STEM. Engineering, I mean, they need to see that you can actually research, you've done something you can think. But if you don't have publication, it doesn't mean you would actually stop applying. Yeah, you just try to focus on other strengths that you have. So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, I don't know, maybe I can add to Prosper's point on the reason why people prefer US to other countries.
Okay.
All right, I think it has to do with the innumerable opportunities that are banned in the US. That's the truth. From my knowledge, I've not been to the UK, but I think from what I've learned from people, when you have your program and you're on certain visa, for instance, your master's program, and you are done with your program, you are going back home immediately. So even if you are applying for PhD, you have to go back and start over. Is that, I don't know if that is correct, but US here, you can transfer your status. You are still the one. You understand? When you are done with your master's, within the 2 months that you are given, is it 2 months or 1 month? In fact, even before that, you can have your OPT. You can apply for OPT for a year. And within the year, you can still, that is optional practical training. That's what we call it. Anything that aligns with your discipline. So it's either you work or you volunteer or you intern. So that still allows you to stay in the US. Then from there, you can transfer to PhD, you can get employment and some other thing, but such opportunities are very limited. Maybe in the United States and in some other countries. When you are done with your program for which you have applied for, you are welcome, it's nice doing business with you. And you know what that means. You find yourself at the port of entry, Muritala Mohammed International Airport. But here in the US, those people, they are still accommodating. So they allow you. And another thing is that opportunities, when I keep on talking about opportunities, I know people know. So you work basically more often than not, when you go to other countries, you work basically with the budgets, that has been put in place for you in other countries. But in the US, maybe it just depends on how much you can spread your wing, you get. So, and how legally, please don't come and put yourself in trouble. how much you can spread your wings. So you always have that. Then I want to rest my case on that. Somebody was asking about the issue of racism. I have replied that person privately, but then I think it is something we have to discuss. Yeah, people are always apprehensive when it comes to issue of security. But the question is that when even people are talking about security, it should not be people from UAR talking about insecurity. Well, anyway, that's just on a lighter mood. So insecurity is everywhere. That's just the truth. And then because we see some narratives are always usually pushed further, and more often than others. Racism is everywhere. And I was sharing my personal experience with somebody. I was at a store last week, and you know that a Nigerian, an African American discriminated me because of what? Because I wasn't speaking Wanagona. Now. It was like, come on, do you speak English at all? I can speak Chinese, I speak Portuguese. Which do you want to speak? Then the irony of it was that two white ladies actually came to my defense. I shared it with somebody. In fact, the lady was, then there was this fracas between her and the lady. The lady was like, come on, it's very clear. I could hear him. And the guy was telling the lady, mind your business. And in the long run, they were fighting. I was even surprised that the lady was crying. These white people can be so funny. Why have that is just the way it is. Okay, they can talk about George Floyd. We pray not to have such again. It is systemic racism is still there. But you realize that when you hear the other side of the narratives, it is the same.
True.
That is just
Very
the truth.
True.
And more often than not, when you come to the US, you are likely to change your notion that some of our brothers, the African Americans in particular, I'm sorry if I'm saying this on here, they even, in fact, they have that hate than the so-called white supremacists. You will get to know when you come here. So, but stories like that, like this, does not sell in the media. Where do you want to sell it? When you say a black man is discriminatory, it doesn't make sense because the media, they have their own narratives that they advance. So it's as simple, it is very complicated. So it is complex. So you don't let that deter you from pursuing your own dream. So it's as simple. Just pray to God. So we are also praying to God because even your black brother can just bring out a gun and anything can happen. Yeah, this is America. So God help us.
Don't let it deter you at all, because if it's bad like that, I'm sure you are facing insecurity in Nigeria, right? Even at times here, there are times when the stress of talking at times silences me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm sure I'm going to repeat myself again, or they'll say I didn't get that or something. But my dear, I mentally always tell myself that is not what is going to stop me. My English is clear. So if you can't pick it out, because the way you cannot hear me is the way I cannot hear you, right?
Yes.
So if it discriminates with me too, I don't want to be near you. So just respect yourself, know what you're here for, and drive at it. I don't think it should be a problem.
It is even their own problem, not yours. But they make you think as if it is yours because of the system. Because the system has been made so easy for them. Yeah.
A black man, police caught him, and he has Nigerian roots. Immediately he said, I'm not with them. Well, he just started speaking Nigerian, and the police was like, go, that they will even prefer Africans. But I mean, that's just a joke. So don't get it by that. So I really wanted to talk about before we go, the whole standardized test and knowing your strengths kind of things. So I had a friend that once told me that if you have a good GPA, you don't really your standardized test flies anyway. And if you don't have a good GPA, your standardized test, you need to have really good scores so that you will buttress. I know from the meeting today, the tone has been something has to work for you. Something has to work for you. There might be somebody that nothing is working for you. Maybe you wrote your GRE and you got maybe 280 or 270 and you don't have a publication, and maybe you finish with a 2.2 and you feel like, oh my God, all the odds are against you. So I just want to tell you that the US has a lot of schools, over 1,000 schools. It just requires
over 5,000. Over 5,000 colleges. Over 5,000.
A good GPA, I don't know, it's relative, right? It's relative, but of course, if you finish with the first class, that's a good GPA. But there are people, for instance, I know somebody that finished with a 4.47, and a 2-1, but converting it to American scale is like a 4.57/4, a 3.57/4. That's the first class in American standard. So it's relative, really. Your school will have some schools, like my school, their required GPA is 3.2/4, right? To apply. Some schools is 3.0, some schools is 2.5. My point is this: there's a school for everybody in the US. I've seen people, there is this guy, Wisdom, I can't really remember his name, I follow him on LinkedIn. He came to the US for school, which is HNG, right? He didn't do university and he came to school. I don't know if you know him. He's really, I think it's Wilson that he's really popular on LinkedIn. My point is this: there is a school for everybody in the US. You just have to there's a school for everybody in the US. You just have to do your work, do your research, right? I mean, I was complaining to my friend that my brother has a 2-1. I don't think he'll get funding. And my friend is, what are you saying? I got a 2-2. He didn't say OU. My guy, there is a school for everybody. You just have to package yourself well and be ready to do your work. That's the truth. Be ready to do your work. There is a slot for everybody. Once you're dedicated, you're determined, you can do it, because it's a holistic, like they'll say, it's a holistic approach. You don't just consider one thing. They consider plenty things. Some schools, they'll just tell you they want the last 2 years of your so even my school, the 3.2, I eventually found out after getting admission that it is just the last 2 years of your undergraduate. They want to be that 3.2. I thought it was the whole transcript. And then maybe in your final year, you picked up and then you started doing well. Of course, your last 2 years will surpass what they want, and they will give you admission. So some schools will just say your last 2 years of your undergrad should be a 3.0. That's the difference between cumulative average and weighted average. They might decide to weigh it for you instead of cumulative. So don't give up. Just do your studies well. Do your research well. See, doing your research well, finding the schools you want to go to, the professors you want to email, is 40% of the work. The remaining 40% being the money involved. The remaining other 20, all this GRE, SOP, there are things you on your own. You don't even have to contract it. If you do your study well, which still boils down to research, you can do it. You don't need, people say you should get agencies and things like that. I don't think you need that. I did the whole thing myself. Prosper and the internet was our friend, Naira Land, group chats, we were not even on any group. Prosper and I were not even on every group. We did it ourselves, actually. It was after we got our visa, we joined some of these groups. So my point is, you can do it by yourself. Sit down and do your research. I mean, you have an info session like this. I didn't even have this when I was doing my own applications, and I mean, I'm here now. So I just thought to share that.
Let me not say what I had in mind before carrying with DMB. So someone is asking some questions here, but I think it can be tied into the aspect of application timeline. Diricha, I wanted you to speak on this, like from the moment if you wanted to contact professors, or the moment you're deciding to take your GRE, and some of the documents as well you need, like getting transcripts from your schools, if you need a Nigerian passport as well, how do you look at the application timeline? If someone wanted to apply for against 2020, when is a good time to start contacting professors? When is a good time to start to take the GRE and to start preparing for all of that as well?
Okay, first of all, thank you. I would say thank you every time because I always say thank you. But first of all, you have to prepare for the work ahead. It's not going to be easy. So I'm seeing some questions. I'm seeing some questions here that can be answered just by doing your research. I get that there are forums like this, and there are WhatsApp groups, and then there are Twitter threads, and different things that can help you start your application. But I feel that the best you can do for yourself is to be serious about it. It's one thing to attend this type of sessions. It's another thing to join WhatsApp group. But if you're not ready to put in the work, you won't go from point A to point B. And best believe that there's a lot of work to be done. So first of all, remove your mind from looking for too much, questions or being too unsure of yourself. Enter the process. Go in as much as you can go in. Be prepared. You're going to do research. Just to come up with a list of schools I wanted to apply to, it took me 1 month of going through everything. So know that there's a lot of work, and don't be scared of the hard work ahead of you, because it's all going to lead to something great in the future. So just get into the game. Then for the application timeline, somebody asked for clarification for spring, summer, and fall semesters. I think it's important that you understand the application cycles that we have. So there are fall semester. Fall semester generally starts between August and September. And for each application, you have to start, you have to apply like months before time. It's not when the August comes, you apply in July, because you're an international student and it can take a while for you to process all your documents and everything that you need. You have to start at least 1 year earlier to start preparing to do your application and prepare all your documents. So fall is August, spring starts in January, and summer starts in May. But these days does not mean that that's when you start applying. That's when school is starting already. So you have to like backtrack months before. But the most popular term for school to start is fall semester. The most popular term for people to get scholarship and funding is also fall semester. Not to say that they don't give scholarship in spring and in summer, but fall semester is where there's a concentration of more scholarship and funding available to students. So when you're looking at it, so say you want to start school next year, August, you have to start preparing your application from now. So you have to look at everything that you need to apply. So your SOP, you have to start crafting it, GRE, the kind of test scores, you need and the kind of exams you need to sit for. Now, be sure that you may not be required to sit for all the exams. You have to look at, based on your list of schools, you have to look at what the school is telling you. Some schools will ask you for GRE, some will not. Some will ask you for TOEFL, some will not. Some consider Nigeria English speaking country, so they won't ask you for TOEFL results. So you have to be sure of what the school wants and what the list of school you're applying to want before you go into the process. So if it's GRE can take a while to get. It's not an easy exam. I don't know for people that wrote it and aced it one hand, but GRE can be a very technical stuff. So you need to be able to start practicing. Karen wrote her GRE in 1 month, if I hear her clearly. I also wrote mine in 1 month because it was very fast for me to transition from preparing for GMAT to going to GRE. So it's not an easy process like that. So you need to give yourself time. That 1 month may not be ideal for a lot of people. For somebody like Karen, she seems very, upbeat. So it's possible that she can do it within a month. But ideally, you're supposed to take a while to do the thing. So you're supposed to give yourself at least 3 months of preparing for GRE. So now factor that time into that time for preparation into your application timeline. Now, TOEFL is a much more easier exam in this sense. It's not as technical as GRE, so you can just maybe use 1 or 2 months to prepare for TOEFL. You can do them concurrently too. So ideally, if you start now to start preparing, you can write your GRE, say in September, write your TOEFL in October. That's if you're preparing against next year, August. Then you have to also look at the application deadlines for schools, and you have to target early application. There is something about applying early to schools. It sets you apart. One, it makes you look like you're serious about the school. Secondly, you have access to funding. It's generally believed that the earlier you apply, the more easier it might be for you to get your GA and your scholarship. It's better because these schools, they have panels at different points in time. Sorry, and then again, there's something you need to understand about schools. Some schools practice rolling admission. That means at any point, you can send your application and they'll check it. Why some schools have particular deadline. Most schools usually have their deadline, I think January 15th. Some schools extend it to February, so March. But please don't wait for that day to reach. Don't wait for it to be the day before that day. Plan yourself months in advance. Plan yourself very, very well. And make sure if there's a first person to apply or first 10 people to apply, make sure you're part of them. So you can get it done with you for the scholarship. So sending your applications as early as possible. Then your transcripts. Oh, okay. Sorry, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you now.
Let's give me a signal. Okay. Then your transcripts. That's literally one of the first things you should get in the first place. So I did mine during my NYC. I remember using my 1 month allowance to go and process my transcript and get my own official transcript. I suffered that 1 month, but looking at it, that transcript was what I used to do, literally everything you need to do. So apply for your transcripts early and have it on hand. Write your research scores. Write your standardized test. Have your CV in hand. Prepare your passports. Don't wait for passport booklets to finish in in immigration office before you run to go and prepare your passport. Make sure you get your passport. These are the things you should do to just keep you ahead of the game. Contact your professors when you have your test scores back. Prepare your CV and do everything. At least give yourself 1 year in advance of the term you intend to start. So that's what I'll say about application timeline.
Wow, thank you so much. I think you did quite a lot of justice to that question. We're kind of like at our time now, but there's only, I think we've spoken about all of those documents and the exams as well. I kind of wanted us to just touch on that last part of budget. In this whole process, what did it cost you guys? And what were the major things that cost you money? Was it transcript? Was it paying for the standardized test? Application fees as well, paying to send your scores to school? What was the cost like? We can make this as brief as possible because I know them in Nigeria as well. It's also getting quite late for them. Akin, do you want to just comment on this? What were the major costs for you?
Okay, I think the major costs are just the cost for the GRE, the passports. Yeah, because it can be so daunting, especially when you're going, because of the situation in Nigeria, trying to get your passport. I got it during December, and if care is not taken, you have to try to pay your way through to get what you really deserve at the desired time. It is yours anyway. You are not, it's not as if you are trying to, but then that's just what the system is, because you just sit under the canopy, especially when you get to when you go to Agidingbi, NIN office, then you see people driving in and out, and then they will be getting the passport. So starts in earnest, so to say, the GRE, the passport, your visa, and then your shipment of the I-20. Yeah, those are the major things. The GRE, the passport, the visa, and the shipment of the I-20. But the pabambari of all is I think the flight tickets, but you'll be fine. Once people see that stamp in your passport, be sure that almost everybody will be willing to help and you are going to be fine. Don't get overwhelmed. Usually I don't tell people about even the flight ticket. And I think for our people in the STEM program, Education USA usually sponsors, I don't know who knows Sean's here. I think Sean was sponsored by Education USA. So Education USA sponsors those in the STEM program. So they will stop, they sponsor the flight ticket. In fact, the GRE. I think Sean probably spent zero naira, if I'm not mistaken.
They will even give you dollars to go.
It was even given a transition allowance. So it's as easy as that for the STEM. Nevertheless, if you are not in the STEM program, don't be, don't be frustrated. Don't be overwhelmed. It's very simple. During when we were planning too, COVID was out. Even my freelance writing was not really coming because who wanted writing when COVID was in the, was everywhere. And then the teaching was not there. Almost everything was done. But here I am. Thank God. Another thing, I'm very sorry. I'll be very fast. HND. Somebody asking about HND. And for those of you having issue with HND, I have a friend at Bowling Green State University. He's in one program and he finished at what's the name of this federal polytechnic in Lagos? Oh, Yabatech. Yeah, they finished at Yabatech. We are together now. In fact, it's fine there. So you can also get it. And I think you can link up with the fellow who is said to be popular on LinkedIn. And I think there is another thing I need to add. Oh, it slips my mind now. If I remember, I'm going to say that. Don't let me delay other people. So it's just as simple as that. So it's as good as that.
Okay. I think that's kind of covers it. Now I'm going to allow like all of you. I don't know if there are like some questions you saw or some comments you saw that you kind of want to briefly comment on. The floor is open to you guys, or if you have just final words for our audience today before we wrap up this session.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just say something on application fee. Some schools require you to pay application fees. Most schools do. Some schools will waive the application for you. Some schools are very expensive. My school is a whole $100. That was a lot of money, right? So some schools are 75, some schools are 35. Depends on you too. I think application fee was one of the things to consider too in schools, just so you know how much you're budgeting towards. But like like Aki said, take it a step at a time, right? Just be doing it and be going, having timelines in mind, of course. Then another thing I wanted to talk about is accommodation. I don't know, maybe because I'm an Igbo girl, I like all the money topics. Is accommodation. So does your accommodation is like, so the way it works, different schools have different amounts they pay as stipends, right? So they pay you in a month, but some schools pay as much as 1,500, some schools pay 1,000, some schools even pay like 700, depending on your school and the funding they have and all of that. You will pay for your accommodation yourself, right? Yeah. But it's affordable. Trust me, it's affordable. I don't like converting to Naira because it will make me seem as if I'm a big girl. But let me be honest with you. My stipend, my school is expensive. After paying, some schools, you don't even pay departmental fees and all of those things. My schools, after paying for fees, I mean, you can convert the money to Naira if you want. I will tell you the figures, but I'll not tell you how much I'm earning. I pay I pay about $800 per course, per course. Like for 3 units courses, I pay $800. Right? At times they can allow me to pay up to 4 times in a semester, but like this summer semester, I pay just twice. I pay up to $800. I still pay for my rent. My rent is about $400. I still have groceries, and I still send some money home. You know, and I'm living well. I'm enjoying my Axlutan. I'm enjoying my life with this year. See my color. And the reason why I'm telling you this is
carrying the cruise.
Like I said, I had a good company job before I came here. So the guy that was my friend here, I called him. I did WhatsApp call, brought Excel spreadsheet. Please do the break of the finances for me. I want to be sure that my parents will not be paying for me to go to school. At least that's the least I can do if I'm leaving my job. I should be able to at least take care of myself. So we had to sit down, do the check and balances, and the balance. So I'm like, okay, before I even went ahead to start studying for GRE, because I had to be sure of what I was getting into, you know. So please, you guys, just try. I mean, another thing you want to consider too is the stipend of school, but that's if you have plenty offers. If you don't have offers, my dear, be coming. There are scholarships here. As I've applied for like 5 scholarships. I'm waiting for feedback. Don't worry, I will give you updates when the money land. Maybe I will cut so far.
Karen, I like that. I like that.
My point is, be coming. There are internships. Aki said they will give you 1 year of OTP. First time courses is 3 years.
3 years, yes.
3 years. You will work. This summer we are working, flexing. My dear, may I not lie to you. I know this is on air and I'm not supposed to be saying things like this, but at least, you know, you deserve quality education. You do. I mean, 24 hours light, reading in AC, your brain will be cooling down as you're reading. How will what you're reading not enter? So guys, the money is a lot. I mean, if I start converting my house rent to Naira, it's a lot.
Stop converting, I beg.
Don't convert it. Just so that I can afford my house rent and I can afford to be a baby girl too. I mean, I'm reading hard, but I'm still a baby girl while reading. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Going off of what Karen just said, just know that you'll be all right. Know that you'll be all right. So when I came into the US, I came in with $700 because after spending so much on every other thing that I did,
you get money.
I even borrowed like 200K in Nigeria. You know, and after I paid my first month house rent, over the course of say from January till March, I had finished paying off the debt I was owing in Nigeria. I had processed my driver's license. I got a car.
Oh,
you will be so. Don't worry
about
that.
If you see the laptop I'm using, machine, I bought a credit card.
My laptop for my workstation.
I even bought for my sister. My dear, you will be fine. Honestly, you will be
fine.
Help me now.
You will be fine. Just close your eye, read for that GRE. You know, my friend has this really pretty boot that I had on my picture. If I read, I won't die. I'll just look at the picture of the boot. I say, this boot I wear you. When I got here, I have more than 6 boots in my wardrobe, changing it for them, destroying places. My dear, you'll be fine. Just have something you're looking up to, you know, at least, and you know, you deserve the quality education. Let me say that one too, so I will seem like a serious person. You deserve quality education. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and that is very true. What Karen has said is actually true. In fact, almost all of us came with heavy debt, just like Richie is saying. So, but before 2 months, you'll be done with your debts. In fact, a friend was telling me when I was talking about the, you know, actually, you know, I have an uncle who even helped in many ways, but then nevertheless, you know, you have some things that you want to add. So you finish all of those and you are fine. And what Karen is saying, she's not exaggerating. That is just the truth. And I even told people, I've told people that even if you don't, although it is it can be very, very stressful if you don't have the full funding. But if you don't have the full funding, you have partial funding. Come, brother, just make sure you are not lazy. They will grant you that opportunity to work. At least your 20 hours will be there. That is if you are not given the, you know, the GA in school. And once you have that opportunity, you be Niger now, you understand now.
What are you talking?
Make sure you understand.
Pastor, why are you quiet? You don't want to show us the way.
No, which way? I beg, no come at me. And again, the last thing is I say, people, please, I always tell people, one thing that we've not spoken about that is very important is that, I don't know, please pray. Pray against many things. I say there are many the factors. I say the village people and the Nigerian factors. People only talk about the village people. You don't talk about the Nigerian people. Do you get? It almost happened that, you know, they were shipping I was to schedule my visa interview, and it happened around that NSAS whatsoever. You understand now? And you're like, hey, is this not story of Nigerian people? And you know, American embassy will feel like we are closing for a while. So you people should
interview was that day. Our interview was that day. I said,
God, you need the prayer. It is very, very important. You need the prayer. It's not just about, it's not even about packaging the everything. Just pray to God. So, and you are going to be fine. Seriously. And you come here, you tell a nice story. Let me tell you something. It's not the same thing. Oh. Don't even try to compare. Oh, I beg.
I was telling people, I used to tell people on the WhatsApp group that see me will be say when I did Nigeria, I was reading and suffering. Somebody not tell me that, guy, come and read. I will be paying you on top, and you will not stress yourself. I say, what did I do for Nigeria now?
Yes, office adjustable table. I say my office for Exxon no fine reach this place.
And they tell you reach my PhD student office. I should be doing what?
Nah. I saw somebody asking about driver's license. I had the same issue too. But guy, I'm very happy I chilled till I got here to get my driver's license. So I wanted to get to Nigeria because people said when you come here, you start driving and all of that. And I really wanted to do it, but it was stressful. And in as much as I'm like this to an extent, I think I'm a butter child, you know. So I was not ready to go through all of that stress, like Aki said, standing in canopy. So I was like, when I get to the US, I'll be. And trust you, in one day, because I was already driving in Nigeria, you would do a written test. I have the materials. You read it. After reading it, you do the driver's test. You just practice, get your friends to teach you. And in one day, I did everything. After paying the money, they shipped my license to my house. So if you know you don't like stress and you can chill, just do it when you come here, my G.
I know we share that final words.
I will share that money, Sha.
So I wanted to quickly state something because I think some people might actually need to know about this. The steps to actually go about this whole grad school stuff. So I just state it in 1 minute. Yeah. So the
do you have it on the screen? You want to share?
No, I know. I don't have it on the screen. I will just state it so in case they want to write it down. So the first step is actually to decide what you want to study, what you want to do. Okay, do you want to continue what you did in your undergrad, or you want to switch to something else? So that's the first thing you need to do. Decide on what you want to do in your master's. So after that, the next thing is to research on schools. Okay, you have to search for schools that offer this course you want to study. You could actually search for the best schools. You could search for schools that have high acceptance rates. You could search for schools that give more funding. So the next thing is to search for schools. So after you've gathered schools that offer your course, what you want to study, the next thing is to actually search each of these schools, the requirements, the need. So you go to each of the websites of the school and check for the requirement. Does this school require me to submit GRE results? Do they accept IELTS or TOEFL, or they don't need that? What is their GRE cutoff mark, and when is the deadline? You search for these requirements in each of those schools. So you write this down. So if you see that, okay, some of the schools you need to write GRE, or IELTS. You decide if you want to write IELTS or TOEFL. For people coming to US, I would advise for them to write TOEFL. I wrote IELTS, but I would advise for you to write TOEFL because it's easier. I wrote IELTS, but I needed to send my IELTS from Nigeria down to my school here in US. But if you write TOEFL, you have the opportunity to send your TOEFL results to 4 schools for free. So that could be easier for you. You don't have to pay the extra money I paid. So you decide whether you want to write TOEFL or IELTS. Then you also fix your dates for GRE. Then you start preparing. But all these, you start doing all these 1 year before, 1 year to the time you want to resume. So like right now, I don't think anybody can actually start any application for fall 2021. Fall 2021 is resuming in 2 months. But you can actually start your application for spring 2022. That's to resume January next year. So you could try to do all those steps now. Write your GRE before the end of August. And if your school still requires GRE, because I know for now, because of the whole COVID, a lot of schools waive GRE for fall 2021 and spring 2022. You just have to search for those schools. Then after writing your GRE, you have your GRE. But before then, you've actually gotten your student's copy of your transcript from your school, because that's very important. I mean, I didn't know about that. So I got mine late, but it just took me 2 weeks for me to get mine. So just have your student copy of your transcript at hand when you want to start applying. So when you have your GRE, you have your TOEFL, you have your transcript, then you could now start applying to these schools. Each of these schools, I know there are some schools that do waive application fee, but I mean, it's hard to find schools that waive application fee. So you have your application fee ready, your GRE, IELTS or TOEFL, your transcript. Then you also you need to contact your referees, people that are going to write your reference letters for you. Usually, it's advisable as somebody applying for master to have 3 referees, 2 from your school, your undergrad, and 1 from one of the companies you work in. So it's usually 3 referees. You have your referees, and you also have your statement of purpose. You could have somebody check your statement of purpose for you to know if you're on the right track. For my own reference letters, each of my referees told me to draft my reference letter and send to them, so they could actually know what to write for me. They don't want to use their general templates they use for each person that they want to write for. So I drafted mine and I sent to them, and they had to point it in their own terms and sent to my school. So you have your referees, your statement of purpose, your various exams, your transcript, then your application fee that you can apply to these schools. Then during your application, you could also contact professors if you want to. I mean, I contacted professors during my own time, but no professor got back to me. So, but I didn't let this get to me. I still got my funding. I mean, I contacted more than 20 professors, but nobody got to me. So you contact professors. If they get back to you, fine. If they don't get back to you, you don't have to let that affect you. So after contacting professors, then when you apply, you just chill and wait for the next step. So the next thing you should actually receive is your admission letter, probably your funding. So I don't know if I've been able to at least break down the steps. Yeah, that was what I wanted to point out.
I think you've actually elaborated on all of the steps. One final thing I would say here is that the goal is to get a full scholarship. But however, if you can afford it, if you can afford at least a semester or a year, and you get an admission without funding, take it. I think I cannot count the number of persons I've seen that pay for only their first. Some of them, once they're here in the US, within that first semester, before the end of that first semester, they've gotten funding. Because you're here, you're taking a class, you're just blasting the professor questions in class, because you're hustling. So there are also those possibilities if you know you can afford it. If you can't, keep hustling for the scholarships part. Or if you can cover, say, your first semester or your first year, take it up when you get here within that first semester or that first year. It's not like Nigeria. You can send the professor an email that, hey, I wanted to meet you to discuss this. You can walk into the office. You can do that. And by the time you're doing that at the end of one semester, you would have gotten like 2 or 3 professors that would tell you, okay, I actually have an opening. Oh, I like you. I want to hire you. So there's also that possibility, and I want you guys to be aware of it. So I think we've kind of covered everything we had in plan for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're seeing all the nice comment. Oh, Aki, you want to say something?
Yeah, in fact, it was what I wanted to say then that slipped my mind. That's about application fee waiver. It's very important part of the application because most times people get overwhelmed with the application. But let me tell you my own experience. When I was applying, usually some of these schools, they will have something like webinar for the prospective applicants. And the reward of you attending the webinar is application waiver. It is very, very common. And you can shoot your shot at the graduate coordinator of your department. Just tell them you are done. Try to impress them. They can waive it. Let me tell you something. It was waived for me. And I have some other persons that I've persuaded to write the same coordinator of my department. And I think about 3 friends or so had their application fee waived. So $80, $100, something like that. That's almost 50,000 Nigeria naira. So I know it is much money. You can still convert that to your passport application or your GRE test. So you can waive, you can waive it actually. So God bless you all. We hope to see you share nice stories with us in coming months.
Yeah, we hope to see you guys wearing your own boots like Karen.
Before we go, sorry, one last thing. For those of you that are bothered about you like a particular course, see, in the US, aside from changing program, it's also very easy to change school. It's not something that people expect, but it is very, very, very easy to change school. If you say you don't want to do here again, you want to continue here, you just transfer your grades, you even transfer your credits. It is a very straightforward process. So I just thought to put that out there too.
Your goal is just to get in here. Once you get in here, even so, I'm doing petroleum engineering, but my programming now is like crazy. So I was doing it because my plan is, okay, if you get a CV for oil and gas, I can pivot into tech. So your goal is just to get into the country. Once you get in, you would find lots of opportunities within your school, within your city. There's a whole lot of opportunities. So yeah, I think Karen is right about that.
Just another thing. So there is this school in Oklahoma, Southwestern University of Oklahoma. I went there yesterday and I got the opportunity to meet the chancellor, and she was asking me what to do to encourage international students. Apparently, they don't have as much international presence and they're actually looking for students and funding. So just a pro tip, you might like to check that school out and see if you know.
Can you repeat the name again? Just in case.
Southwestern University of Oklahoma.
All right.
Southwestern Oklahoma State University. Sorry.
Okay. Am I missing any final words? Yeah,
my one final word. I just wanted to say a few ways that I feel like people can save during the application process, and some mistakes that I made that I feel like people can, you don't have to repeat. So first of all, when you're writing, Prosper mentioned that TOEFL would let you send scores to 4 schools. GRE will let you send scores to. So you have to be very intentional if you want to save money. Once you've identified the schools you want to apply, you make sure that you send your TOEFL scores and your GRE scores to them when you're writing the exam. I think TOEFL lets you do that 24 hours before you write the exam, and then GRE, you fill in the schools at that date. So at the point of my TOEFL and GRE, I didn't even know the schools I was going to apply. So I just put in any schools, and that later affected me because I had to start sending my GRE scores again. To send GRE score, one school is $25, and then TOEFL is $20. So it was a whole lot of unnecessary, unwarranted expenses. So you can look to streamline your expenses from that angle. So also you can ask schools for application waiver, like Akin said, and then be very intentional about schools that you apply to. Apply to schools that you know that you have hope of applying to, you have hope of getting into. Don't go and apply to 10 schools or schools, just any school that, you just apply like that. You end up spending a lot of money. And then what you only need is just one school. At the end of the day, you're going to attend one school. So when you're coming up with your list of schools, be very, very intentional about schools that you're picking and make sure that at least you stand a chance of getting into it. It will help you to save money and everything during the whole application process.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Richie. Actually, like that was one of the reasons why we typically contact professors beforehand. So that all you need is just someone to look at your profile and say, oh, I'm hiring a student this year. Oh, I have funding. oh, I like your profile, please apply. Once, by the time I contacted over 40 professors, but mine is a PhD, so it's a bit different. So I contacted over 40 professors in my own time. And out of those 40 professors in like different schools, I got positive responses from like 4 or 5 of them. Those are the schools I applied to because I needed, like the Richie said, I needed to have the 4 schools that I would get my GRE and TOEFL sent to. Then if afterwards I applied to any other school, I could pay. But I wanted to be sure that the 4 schools in that GRE on TOEFL, I have already a very good response from them. So contacting professors also helps with that. But again, it's not a rule of thumb. They're just best practices. I believe we've covered as many of these as we could.
No last words from you. They're not giving me last words.
Oh, sorry, Karen. I'm a novice.
I'm excited. Okay, so what I want to say is we've said a lot of things, but I feel like we should not get gainsay. That's a GRE word, by the way. So there are particular words we call GRE words that are not conventional English. We should not get gainsayed from the main point, right? In everything you do, be honest, right? Because when it's time for you to apply for your visa, it's going to be a summary of the entire process. They might ask you the standardized test where you worked, all of those. You need to be honest, because if you're leaving something out, I tell, like my friend, I was telling her that you don't want to ignore this. From now, your head start ignoring it so you don't get unsettled. Just know that that is now your truth, right? So you have to be honest about the whole process. Know the difference between lying and omitting, right? So if you're omitting something, you're not lying about it, you're just deciding not to say it. But if you're lying, it might still come in the back and eat you, right? So be honest about the entire process, because you don't want to go through all of this 1 or 2 years, and then at the last minute, when it's time for your visa, you'll be denied.
Somebody just say no. Somebody just bring blue paper.
Exactly. So you have to know the in total. I tell people, for those of us that are oil and gas engineers, SPE helped me get my visa because they asked me what is OTC. And I was like, I do not know. And the man said, how can you be a petroleum engineer and you do not know what OTC is? And then I'm like, oh, OTC, Offshore Technical Conference. Something trivial like that already defined the direction of my interview. So please try to be honest and truthful in everything. You know, it's good to be proud, it's good to shalaye, but please be honest and truthful in the entire process. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
I didn't remember the name of the novelist too, but the guy, the interviewer, the VO explained to me, it was funny. I told him, and the interview switched. I became the interviewer. He was responding.
Exactly.
So maybe he was happy about it. So don't pretend to know everything. They know when you are lying, and that will be the beginning of the, So don't just lie, and it starts from now, like Karen has said. Good luck to you guys.
Yeah, good luck to everyone. I tell people that don't lie. It's easier to remember the truth, and your entire body signal will be screaming that, okay, what this guy is saying is the truth. So it's actually a lot easier. Okay.
All right.
Am I missing comments from anyone? Are we missing
comments? See most of them in the US in coming semesters.
Yeah. I know. I'm probably going to meet Prosper and Karen somewhere next February.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'll come
yeah, I know. I should be coming to Houston next semester. I should just chill around and come to Houston.
I'm just village.
I'm going to come to Oklahoma. That's very true. I'm going to come to Oklahoma. So guys, in case you might need, maybe when you get to the interview stage or you need somebody to review your SOP, you could actually contact one of us. I know I'm actually willing to help too, though. I mean, I know it might be stressful.
If you need somebody to pay your service fees, we didn't talk about that, but that one gave me headache. Jesus Christ. I visited me and my friend in total, we visited up to 10 banks under the hot sun. It was not funny. If you need somebody to help pay your service fee to things like that, just reach out on the group. You never can tell people.
We do it.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I think I already helped like 3 persons this year. So that's why we dropped our LinkedIn profiles, and I think you have all our emails as well. Feel free to reach out. If you're on the WhatsApp group, it's also going to be very easy. But yeah, thank you so much guys for coming out. Thank you to these wonderful panelists. This has been an enlightening session. I learned a lot myself.
Somebody
and,
said Prosper Karen Bond.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
they have been born,
Yeah.
you know, look at today.
I mean, everybody that knows us knows us. Just that Prosper, let me know it's all. But
Hey,
yeah, you need that kind of bond. I wish we were in the same school. They for no here and for this, okay. All right, guys.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah.
All right,
All right,
bye.
all right,
Have a
bye.
good night.
You too.
Bye.
So I'll wait for a bit since I'm the host, so I don't send everybody away.
Yeah, I just dropped the
Okay,
link.
bye,
again.
Karen. Bye, Lutu.
Bye, Dirichi. It was so nice
Prosper.
Bye,
to have
Dirichi.
you.
Bye. I think I should join your
Yeah.
WhatsApp. Maybe just drop the link on the WhatsApp group so that I
I'm
can
going
join
to
you.
drop it on our group now. Yeah.
All right. You guys, bye.
Bye.
All right. That's
My name is Karen.
Prosper. When you reach Houston, call me. I don't know if you guys are
yeah,
coming
sure.
for
Hope you will not carry
OTC
us
or
to
anything.
library. Me, I used to go and read.
I'm
I don't come here to be
I'm
reading
gonna call
books.
ATC.
Hope you will not carry us to
Oh.
library. Visiting us store of University of Houston. That's not what I want. That's why I went to that and somebody said I should go to museum. Nibo. Hey, you oh please.
No, I
So
like do your
since
survey of where you do your survey of where
since
you want to
ATC
go
will
to.
virtual, I mean, we don't need to travel again. I mean, that's why.
Yeah.
I'll-
Yeah. That man, this is
But I'm still
I've
gonna
missed,
come to. I'm still gonna come to this.
I've missed Denver, I've missed Canada, I've missed Denver, I've missed Canada, I've missed Pennsylvania, I've missed where again? I've missed like 4 different trips because of COVID. I know fish out. I just now vex at the vex, made the thing just end. Now Dubai said won't fly me. As in all expense paid, so painful. Like
how do you
Dubai
get all
won't
the
fly
all
me.
expense paid? You know I'm your protege. You know. I mean, you're not
Now
my
a chapter
organ
now.
for US grad journey,
Now-
but you're my organ for US living journey. You're my protege.
No,
Carry me
now
along
our SP chapter they run the funding, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
That's true. Yeah.
It's our SP chapter, so they can use our qualifying in Petrobol to reach companies. They use it to reach companies, like prepare a sponsorship package, go to them like, oh, we have these students, we're in the top 16 schools globally, and we are going for this international competition. So we're trying to cover flights and this. Then they give them like sponsorship levels. Oh, if you want to be like a diamond, platinum sponsor,
We'll take
these
it
are the
offline,
benefits.
don't worry. We'll take it offline.
No,
Let my school just win Petrobol again. Father, let's win. If we win, we are going to Dubai. Nothing is stopping me. Oh God. Prosper, better get ready because as our plaque arrived, we just dey gyrate.
Just see, since we trophy
you guys just
school,
got that.
my guys were like, did you see OU's trophy? Hope you guys are motivated. I'm like,
Even James, we take that comment. I say,
Since I came to Tennessee, I don't know if I'm a student again. I've not been reading for Petrobol. It's just been stressed.
My entire team just dispersed, like, my entire team just dispersed. There's nobody to bring to
it's
study.
Summer. It's summer. You guys should flex. It's summer. Just
FYI,
because we've had board meeting today, but you guys keep flexing. It's summer, you know.
All right, guys. No worries. We'll stay in touch.
I need to go to the water.
You just go to the pool again.
I'm in Tennessee. I'm not in my apartment where there is food, there is gym and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, this is place. It's a house. There's no apartment.
Okay, so I just realized that this part of the meeting will show in the record. So, guys, we need to actually get off.
Oh my God. All right,
I'll stop the recording.
All right, guys. I hope
you
learned a lot from this session. You know.
Forget about the other gist, I think.
But if you're not SP members, shall register. You help your profile too, just in case. FYI for petroleum engineers here. Yeah. All right, guys. It was nice hanging out with you guys. Take care. Bye.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye.